young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. Joining me today is from our EBC Thailand Bureau. Hello, Cristel.
Hi, Alma, and to all our viewers. Yes, I am Crystal Mapa from EBC Thailand Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. Myanmar's junta late Sunday imposed martial law in two densely populated Yangon townships after at least 18 protesters were killed in one of the deadliest days since the February 1 coup.
Myanmar's ousted civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi is to appear in court on Monday after one of the country's bloodiest days since the February 1 coup.
India will produce more than 1 billion more COVID vaccine doses by the end of next year in an initiative launched with the US, Japan, and Australia, challenging China as the four leaders held their first ever joint summit.
Students and teachers in the Philippines struggle to adapt to the new learning system as lack of vaccination drive and increasing coronavirus infections kept the schools closed for a year.
First, to the ongoing crisis in Myanmar, the junta late Sunday imposed martial law in two densely populated Yangon townships after at least 18 protesters were killed in one of the deadliest days since the February 1 coup. The junta gives administrative and judicial martial law power to the Yangon regional commander to perform security, maintain the rule of law and tranquility more effectively, according to an announcer on state-run TV. Sunday's violence brings the number of people killed in mass protests since the military wrenched civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi from power to around 100, though activists and rights groups believe it could be higher. The junta has repeatedly justified its power grab by alleging widespread electoral fraud in November's elections, which Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy Party won by a landslide. State-run media announced late on Sunday that Yangon's massive Lang Taryar Township and the neighboring Swepyita Township will be placed under martial law. The vast and impoverished townships are known as factory hubs and home to garment factories. Residents hiding at home said they heard gunshots continuously throughout the day, while military trucks were seen driving through the smoky streets. The United Nations envoy for Myanmar strongly condemned the bloodshed, stating that the international community, including regional actors, must come together in solidarity with the people of Myanmar and their democratic aspirations. Envoy Christine Schreiner-Bergener said in a statement that she had heard heartbreaking accounts of killings, mistreatment of demonstrators, and torture of prisoners from contacts in Myanmar. State-run media said that 5 factories in the garment-producing township had been razed. Among the burned buildings were Chinese-owned factories, Beijing's embassy in Myanmar said. It also condemned the actions of the destroyers in a statement posted on their official Facebook account. The embassy quickly urged local police to guarantee the security of Chinese businesses and personnel, it said.
Staying in Myanmar, the United Nations envoy for Myanmar on Sunday strongly condemned the continuing bloodshed after at least 18 protesters were killed in one of the deadliest days since the country's February 1 coup. The international community, including regional actors, must come together in solidarity with the people of Myanmar and their democratic aspirations, Christine Schreiner-Bergener said in a statement. She said the Myanmar military was defying international calls for restraint, adding she had heard heartbreaking accounts of killings, mistreatment of demonstrators, and torture of prisoners from contacts inside the Southeast Asian country. She also said the ongoing brutality, including against medical personnel and destruction of public infrastructure, severely undermines any prospects for peace and stability.
Myanmar is in its darkest moment, according to a group of MPs in hiding as they urge protesters to move with invincibility, and the coup-hit nation neared its 7th week under military rule. As anti-coup protesters turned to nighttime rallies to defy a nationwide 8 p.m. curfew, the acting vice president of the CRPH called for the people to continue protesting against the military's unjust dictatorship. This is the darkest moment of the nation, and the light before the dawn is close, according to Man Win Kang in a recorded video posted on the CRPH's Facebook page Saturday night. He said this is also a moment testing our citizens to see how far we can resist these darkest times, said Tan, a high-ranking NLD politician who served as Speaker of the House during Suu Kyi's previous administration. Along with other top Suu Kyi allies, he had been placed under house arrest during the February 1 power grab, according to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners Monitoring Group. His address Saturday would be his first appearance in his capacity as CRPH's acting vice president, and he echoed the anti-coup movement's calls for a federal democracy, which would allow ethnic minority groups to have a role in Myanmar's governance. The junta has repeatedly justified its power grab by alleging widespread electoral fraud in November's elections, which Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy Party had swept in a landslide. In response, a group of elected MPs, many of whom are in hiding, had formed a shadow parliament called the Committee for Representing Pia Dang Su Lutao, or CRPH, the Burmese word for the country's governing bloc, to denounce the military regime.
Myanmar's ousted civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi is to appear in court on Monday after one of the country's bloodiest days since the February 1 coup. The Yangon court hearing for Suu Kyi, who spent more than 15 years in house arrest under previous military rule, is expected to start by video link around 10 a.m. or 3:30 GMT, her lawyer Kin Mang Ao Zhao told AFP. The Nobel laureate faces at least 4 charges: possessing unlicensed walkie-talkies, violating coronavirus restrictions, breaching telecommunications laws, and intent to cause public unrest. Military authorities have also accused her of accepting illegal payments of $600,000 in cash, as well as a large quantity of gold, allegations her lawyers say are groundless. The ruling junta has showed its teeth and taken its mask off. They are showing their true self, Kin Mang Zhao said of Sunday's violence. Kin Mang Zhao has complained he has not been allowed to meet Suu Kyi, who has been in custody since the coup, though he said the 75-year-old appeared in good health, that her last court appearance by video link on March 1. At least 38 protesters were killed on Sunday as security forces cracked down on anti-coup protesters, taking the total death toll to more than 120, according to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners Monitoring Group. Protesters demanding the release of Suu Kyi and the restoration of democracy have taken to the streets across Myanmar every day for around 6 weeks, despite the junta's increasingly forceful attempts to quell the dissent. The international community is growing ever more alarmed at the bloodshed, but so far the generals have shown no signs of heeding calls for restraint.
In a related news, Benetton on Friday announced the suspension of new orders in Myanmar, where the military authorities are cracking down with increasing severity on daily protests against their February 1 coup. The Italian clothing group's announcement follows a similar one from Sweden's H&M, which also suspended new orders on Monday. Benetton Group expresses its deepest concerns over the events in Myanmar. It said in a statement, the situation presents so many safety issues and violations of rights and freedom that we have decided to suspend all new orders to the country, according to Benetton. CEO Massimo Renon said in the statement that the company has been a standard bearer for fundamental values such as inclusiveness, integration, and nonviolence. He also said the suspension was intended to send a strong and concrete signal.
Pirates have kidnapped 15 crew members from a chemical tanker in the Gulf of Guinea after boarding the vessel off the coast of Benin, the ship's Dutch owners said on Friday. The latest incident of high seas piracy happened on Thursday afternoon around 210 nautical miles or 389 kilometers south of Cotonou when pirates attacked the chemical tanker David B., the Dipoli tanker company said. Company spokesman Core Ratings said, quote, "The company's management is now greatly concerned about the well-being of the missing crew. He could not give details about the missing crew members, but they are believed to be Russian, Ukrainian, and Filipino." Kidnap attacks on ships for ransom have become common in the Gulf of Guinea, which runs from Senegal to Angola, taking in the southwest coast of Nigeria. The perpetrators are usually Nigerian pirates. The Gulf of Guinea accounted for more 95% of all maritime kidnappings last year, 130 out of 135 cases, according to the International Maritime Bureau, which monitors security at sea.
In other news, India will produce more than 1 billion more COVID vaccine doses by the end of next year in an initiative launched on Friday with the United States, Japan, and Australia, challenging China as the four leaders held their first ever joint summit. U.S. President Joe Biden, who has vowed to reinvigorate alliances in the face of growing worries about China, met virtually with the three nations' prime ministers as they pledged together to defend a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Take a look.
But to get this right, we all have to focus on generating domestic demand and driving sustainable global growth. And we're launching an ambitious new joint partnership that is going to boost vaccine manufacturing and for the global benefit and strengthen vaccinations to benefit the entire Indo-Pacific.
And with respect to COVID-19, these four leaders made a massive joint commitment today. With Indian manufacturing, U.S. technology, Japanese and American financing, and Australian logistics capability, the Quad committed to delivering up to 1 billion doses to ASEAN, the Indo-Pacific, and beyond by the end of 2022.
The White House, in a statement, said that Indian company Biological E Limited would produce at least 1 billion doses by the end of next year, focusing on the one-dose U.S.-developed Johnson & Johnson jab. The manufacturing will be backed financially by Japan, as well as the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, which provides funding for projects in developing countries. Australia will contribute another $77 million in addition to an earlier commitment of $407 million to ensure that vaccines are not only delivered but administered in Southeast Asia, according to the White House. Japan, in turn, will provide $41 million for the distribution of vaccines, which requires careful climate control. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said the initiative showed unity on COVID-19. The Quad format has been growing for more than a decade, but Friday's talks are the first at the leaders' level and come as all four nations see relations with China deteriorate. China, over the past year, has engaged in a deadly clash with Indian forces in the Himalayas, stepped up activity near islands administered by Japan, and imposed sanctions on Australian products following a series of disputes.
innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. The Department of Health on Saturday confirmed that a new SARS-CoV-2 variant called P3 has been found in the Philippines. Department of Health Technical Advisory Group member Dr. Annalisa Ong Lim said that the new COVID-19 variant mutation called P3 was detected by the Japanese government in a traveler from the Philippines. Dr. Lim said the national government has intensified detection and analysis to determine the effects of the new COVID-19 variant. Let's listen in.
Tama po yung kino-quote nilang reports that was really announced by Japan. And kung matatandaan natin, nung nakaraang linggo, si Philippine Genome Center actually shared some data tungkol doon sa binabantayan nating 85 cases na merong dalawang klaseng variant or rather mutations na nakapaloob dun sa kanilang na-isolate. No? So, nung natuklasan natin itong information na ito, sinabit natin doon sa isang global reporting system. And we were waiting for them to let us know kung ito nga ba ay unique to the Philippines or natuklasan na sa ibang bansa. They've come back to us and told us na ito nga ay bagong variant and they are assigning it the P3 lineage or the designation of P3. No? Yun po yung ating tawag doon. Kasi yun nga, medyo ayaw na natin yung practice na ginagamit yung pangalan ng isang lugar to assign the name of the virus or the variant kasi nga medyo nakakakos ng discrimination dun sa mga nanggagaling sa bansang yun. In fact, pwede naman siyang nakikita rin sa ibang lugar. Okay. So, maybe siguro I'd like to establish the proper way to call this is the P3 variant. We want to do away nga with referring to this as the PHL variant or the Philippine variant kasi nga hindi acceptable practice yung ganoon na we assign place names. So we're trying to veer away from that. And then with respect to characterization, sa ngayon wala pa tayong sapat na datos para sabihin kung mas nakakahawa pa siya, mas nakakakos ba ng lubhang sakit, or meron bang association with higher mortality rates. We are still observing the impact of these characteristics on the particular variant na na-identify natin. Saan ba siya nakikita? Actually, medyo may pangilang-ilang lugar kung saan siya na-isolate. Ang critical feature talaga ng pagde-develop ng variant ay yung patuloy na pagkalat ng virus sa community. No? Isipin na lang siguro natin, let's say isang pamilya, no? Kunwari marami siyang anak at marami ding anak o marami ding apo na nanggaling dun sa mga anak na yun, talagang mas mabilis silang magpakalat ng kanilang lahi, di ba? So parang ganito tong mga virus na to. habang nagpapakarami sila dahil kumakalat at kumakalat sa iba't ibang tao, nagkakaroon ng opportunity na magkaroon siya ng variation, no, ng pagbabago na eventually siya rin na ipapasa dun sa kanyang mga kalahi. Now, whether yung pagbabagong yon ay makakatulong sa virus, makakasama sa virus at makakakos ng kanyang mabilisang pagkamatay in the environment, mahirap na sabihin. Kaya itong mga pagbabagong to, these variants are being observed continuously para malaman natin kung sila ba ay magkakaroon ng any impact on disease and its spread.
Present, it is not identified as a variant of concern, yet due to insufficient data to conclude if it will have significant public health implications. Aung Lim said they are still observing the impact of these characteristics on the particular variant they have identified. The DOH said a variant only becomes a variant of concern if associated with the increase in transmissibility of the virus, increase in virulence, and decrease in the effectiveness of public health measures or available treatments.
The Philippine National Police will deploy thousands of policemen to enforce unified curfew hours from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. starting today, Monday, in Metro Manila. PNP officer in charge, Lieutenant General Guillermo Eleazar, said the deployment of additional cops aims to address the spike in COVID-19 cases. Now, exempted from the implementation of the curfew hours are medical practitioners, nurses, ambulance drivers, and other workers of medical facilities while on their way to and from work, attendants of other persons dealing with an emergency medical situation, persons who are obtaining emergency medical assistance for themselves or for other reasons, or persons rather, drivers of delivery trucks while on their way to deliver essential goods, products, owners, vendors, and other persons involved in the transport and delivery of essential goods, private employees such as call center agents while on their way to and from work, construction workers while on their way to and from work, media practitioners while performing their job, persons who are traveling to or from airport prior to or after a flight, drivers of private transportation used as shuttle services while on their way to and from work, members of law enforcement agencies, including Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine Coast Guard, Bureau of Fire Protection, and other emergency responders, security guards, and employees of open fast foods takeout only. Now, a total of 9,634 policemen from the Quezon City Police District, Manila Police District, Eastern Police District, Northern Police District, and the Southern Police District will also be deployed to assist to enforce this curfew. Eleazar said the deployment includes the setting up of more than 373 checkpoints in various strategic areas, which will be reinforced by beat and mobile car patrollers at the barangay level.
In Philippines, the Department of Transportation is calling on the operators and drivers of public transport vehicles to be serious and extra diligent in the disinfection of vehicles as part of health protocols against COVID-19. In a news release Monday, Tugada said the proper disinfection of public transport vehicles is a key factor in keeping commuters safe from COVID-19. Tugada made the appeal after a recent viral video uploaded on Facebook showed how two cleaning staffers of the MRT3 were shown to be hastily and playfully disinfecting one of the line's trains. The MRT3 management implemented measures to prevent a repeat of the incident. The staffers involved are now facing disciplinary action. Tugada said as frontline service providers, operators, and drivers of public transport vehicles should always be aware of the major role they play in containing the spread of COVID-19.
Vaccination spokesperson for the Health Ministry, Dr. Siti Nadia Tarmizi of Indonesia, said the mutation of the new coronavirus N439K which was first detected in Indonesia in November of 2020, has yet to receive special attention from the World Health Organization. This is actually a single mutation. There's only one mutation in this type of variant. This type of variant, she said, is not the one that draws special attention from the WHO. She also said the N439K mutation was found earlier than the British B117 variant. However, WHO has paid special attention only to the new coronavirus from United Kingdom, the B1351 from South Africa and P1 from Brazil. The health ministry here in Indonesia alleged that there are various variants of the coronavirus in Indonesia, such as D614G, B117, and N439K. She believes the WHO will conduct a wider study on the N439K mutation. The new coronavirus variant of N439K is the same as the variant of D614G, a mutation in the virus, and according to a recent journal, N439K could camouflage the production of antibodies. She also said that usually the WHO would make an announcement after conducting studies with experts from various countries, including a study on the level of malignancy of the N439K coronavirus, which might aggravate the COVID-19 disease. Meanwhile, she also continues to urge the public to wear masks, wash hands with soap, maintain social distancing, stay away from crowds, and limit mobility as effective ways to prevent transmission of the virus, in addition to the 3T protocol, which is testing, tracing, and treatment.
Health workers at a Malaysian hospital are given doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccines as part of the country's continued inoculation drive. Malaysia received its first batch of vaccines in late February. Nearly 250,000 doses have been administered in Malaysia so far, with medical staff and security officers getting priority. The Southeast Asian nation is planning to vaccinate at least 80% of its 32 million population, with the program covering 3 phases that are expected to end by February next year. More than 319,000 COVID-19 cases and 11,200 deaths have been reported in Malaysia so far.
Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or PDEA, Director General Wilkins Villanueva on Sunday admitted that he tested positive for coronavirus disease, or COVID-19. He said, "As I was preparing for the Senate inquiry on Monday, I took my RT-PCR reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction at the Chinese General Hospital yesterday as part of the requirement, and this morning," he said, "I received the result. I tested positive," Villanueva said in his social media post. He apologized to the people he came in contact with during the last few days and asked them to take the necessary precaution. He said he would go on isolation in the following days. Villanueva is set to attend the Senate inquiry on the bloody shootout between the police and PDEA agents in Quezon City on February 24, which resulted in the killing of 4 people. Philippine National Police Chief General Debold Sinas was also set to attend, but he also tested positive for the virus last Thursday. Meanwhile, PNP officer in charge, Lieutenant General Guillermo Eliazar, said the health service is now checking the personnel of units visited by Sinas from March 9 to 11.
Mas masaya na ang iyong gabi dahil sa Weekdays Prime ng Net25. Ang mga balitang pumapagaspas, ihahatid sa atin ni Emma Tiglao, Elis Saludar at Vic De Leon Liva sa Mata ng Agila. Mapapakain at mapapakanta ka pa sa It's Singing Time! At alamin ang mga balita saan mang panig ng mundo. Hatid sa atin ng Eagle News International. This is your Weekdays Prime. Handog sa inyo ng Net25. Samahan sina Wedge Kujamat,
itong balitang panggising sa ulo ng mga balita.
Apple David,
Sa 60 katao ang isinugod sa ospital.
TV Publiko
Economic sabotage ang mga tiwaling negosyante.
at Cristel Fesalbon
Pagpresyo ng gulay, makakausap natin
para iatid sa inyo ang mga kaganapan at pangyayari sa bansa at sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo. Mga napapanahong isyu ng bayan. May balitang sports, entertainment at iba pang kaalaman. Simula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 5 ng umaga sa paborito nyong morning show, Pambansang Almusal, dito sa Net25.
Pambansang Almusal.
Welcome back to the program. Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin visits Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and Dubai ruler Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum during his trip to the Emirates. The meeting between Malaysian Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces, was a much-needed impetus for the relations of the two countries, according to Kuala Lumpur's top diplomat. Hishamuddin Hussein, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Malaysia, tweeted, "A much-needed impetus for Malaysia-UAE relations. PM Ait Muhyiddin Yassin and HH Ait Mohammed bin Zayed discussed and agreed on increasing trade and investment, digital education collaboration, and food security in the post-pandemic era." Hussein, referring to the meeting between Malaysian Prime Minister and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, UAE's Vice President, Prime Minister, and ruler of Dubai, said the focus of the meeting was to build up economic partnerships and accelerate trade exchanges. The Prime Minister of Malaysia was on a working visit to the UAE this week, which he held meetings with the UAE leaders and discussed ways to bolster ties between his country and the UAE.
In other news, some 1,400 retrenched workers of Philippine Airlines have received their separation pay amounting to more than 2 billion pesos. In a statement released on Saturday, the Department of Labor and Employment, National Capital Region, or DOLE NCR, said that the 1,455 affected workers of the flag carrier were able to receive their separation pay worth 2.31 billion pesos. It also said the workers consist of those who were affected by both voluntary and involuntary separation from the company and were employed until March 12 as part of PAL's recovery plan due to the pandemic that has massively affected the global airline industry. The DOLE NCR, through its Makati Pasay Field Office, or MPFO, received last month a series of notice of termination from PAL for the affected workers. On February 2, PAL announced a company-wide workforce reduction program affecting 2,300 employees. However, the management decided to retain 845 workers. The payment of separation pay took place from February 17 to 22, which was witnessed by the DOLE NCR MPFO upon request of the company. Rodora Buca and Endbon Paulo Garcia Officers of the PAL's HR department said the firm provided separation pay equivalent to 1 month pay for every year of service, including outplacement assistance to help ease the transition. On the other hand, Dolly NCR reported that it has facilitated the review and evaluation of the retrenched workers who were qualified to receive financial assistance through the COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program, or CAMP, under Bayanihan 2. The program has a one-time 5,000 peso cash aid provided by the government to affected workers in private establishments.
Australia is working with Singapore to create a travel bubble between the two nations as early as July, officials said Sunday, in an effort to restart tourism and travel put on hold by COVID-19. Early in the pandemic, Australia effectively closed its international border to slow the spread of the coronavirus, with non-citizens banned from visiting except in special circumstances. Deputy Prime Minister Michael McCormack said Australia was working with Singapore at the moment, potentially for a bubble beginning in July. The Sydney Morning Herald reported the deal would allow Singaporeans and Australians who had been vaccinated to travel between the countries without quarantining. The newspaper said Canberra is also hoping that people from third countries, such as international students, business travelers, and returning citizens, could complete 2 weeks quarantine in Singapore before flying to Australia. But Singapore, which has already opened its borders to a handful of countries that have controlled the virus, including Australia, said it was not in discussion on the concept of a quarantine center or vaccination hub. Singapore is currently in discussions with Australia on the mutual recognition of vaccination certificates and resumption of travel with priority for students and business travelers, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement Sunday. Australia already has a one-way travel bubble with New Zealand, allowing Kiwis to visit without quarantining, though the scheme has been suspended a number of times in response to virus outbreak.
In other news, Brunei's Prime Minister's Office, or the PMO, said on Thursday that the temporary suspension of cross-border activities between Brunei and Malaysia will be extended for another 2 weeks until March 10. Temporary suspension on the entry of foreign nationals from Malaysia, including transits through Brunei via land and seaports, is extended by 14 days. The PMO was quoted as saying in a statement by the local daily Borneo Bulletin, transit through Brunei Darussalam may only be considered for official government travel, students required to attend school, emergency services such as ambulances, police, and military, and Malaysia-registered transport operators with cross-country permits issued by the Brunei government for import deliveries of essential goods to Brunei Darussalam and Malaysia, granted that the travelers attained endorsement from the relevant Malaysian authorities for their travels, according to the PMO. Located in Southeast Asia, northwest of Kalimantan, Brunei shares land and sea borders with East Malaysia. According to the PMO, the temporary suspension on the collection and delivery of private goods at checkpoints handled by operators registered in Brunei is also extended until March 10. Temporary suspension on commuters via land and sea for the purpose of work is also extended by 14 days. The conditions for the consideration of entry and exit travel are subject to review by the Cross-Border Affairs Steering Committee from time to time, according to the PMO. A total of 44 imported cases have been confirmed in Brunei since the last local infection case was reported on May 6 last year. There's only one active case still being treated at the National Isolation Center.
Vietnam on Monday began first phase of human trials of Covivac, the second homegrown COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine is being developed by the Institute of Vaccines and Medical Biologicals, or IVAC. Covivac had been tested on animals, including mice and rabbits, with the results showing that the vaccine has successfully created a high level of immunity among animals. human trials of the first homegrown COVID-19 vaccine, NanoCovax, in December 17, with 60 volunteers signing up for the first phase. Vietnam currently has 2 other COVID-19 vaccines under development by local vaccine producers, namely Vaccine and Biological Production Number 1, COMPA-B, and the Center for Research and Production of Vaccines and Biologicals.
All right, Crystal and I will be back with more news right after this break.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced. Not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas. A 1-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia. Tune into Mata ng Aguila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Aguila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explain our help outdoor chat.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Tayong mga Filipino, likas na palabati. Sanay rin tayong makipagkamay. Pero dahil na rin sa COVID pandemic, isinusulong ang pagbati na hindi na kailangan pang makipagkamay. Ang pambansang pagbati. Ito ay ang pagdampi ng kanang palad sa gitnang bahagi ng dibdib, kasabay ng bahagyang pagyukod ng ulo o paibabang tingin at pagsambit ng mga salitang nagpapahayag ng pagbati, paggalang o pagpupugay. Pagkatapos nito ay ang pag-angat ng ulo ng nakangiti at nakatingin sa mata ng pinabati. Pambansang pagbati, pagpapakita ng paggalang, kababaang loob at pagiging sensero nating mga Filipino.
Let's now go over to Thailand, where the army is preparing for camps for Myanmar nationals fleeing the military coup. Here's Faye Barte joining us live. Hello, Faye.
Hello, good afternoon to you, Alma, and good afternoon to all our televiewers. The update that we got from Bangkok Post that the army is planning to have a temporary camps here in Thailand, particularly in Ranong and Chumphon provinces. So these two provinces, Alma, the distance from Bangkok is 5 to 7 hours away from here. And then these temporary camps are made because the intense of the situation is really escalating, and the deaths number in Myanmar is continuously escalating. So they have decided to have a temporary camps here, which where would be held in Ranong and Chumphon. And another thing, they have come up with this decision the protesters in Myanmar, or the Myanmar national protesters, are needing to have some help from another countries, and they need to have temporary shelters also. According to Major General Santi Sakuntok, the commander of the TEP Satri Task Force, that on Monday, Muang, Laon, and Kraburi districts in Ranong are preparing to receive some Myanmar nationals in particular provinces. He also said that they would accept this for just to have a humanitarian grounds and send them back in Myanmar if the situation returns to a better situation, or it is already returns to normal. And they are calling this as a humanitarian grounds instead of setting up a permanent refugee camps. And another thing, Alma, that the military regime imposed martial law into townships in Yangon. That's why they come up with the decision to have provinces here to receive Myanmar nationals. Thailand shares 2,400 kilometers land border to Myanmar. Back to you, Alma.
Okay, what about the issue of cross-border transmission of COVID-19? Do they have any plans for that?
Yeah, Alma, that is a very good question. We were actually searching for that because this could lead to transmission of COVID-19 to every other nationals. But unfortunately, we haven't got any updates about that. But after we got that, we're going to also report that thing, because that is also a serious situation. We were actually looking for that update because the issue from the epicenter of the outbreak here in Samut Sakon, it is actually related to Myanmar nationals, and we were looking also for that answer, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, and looking forward to more updates coming out of Thailand. And we're happy to hear that Thailand is ready to help fleeing Myanmar nationals from the coup. Thank you very much, Faye, for your updates in Thailand, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Alma. Stay safe also there in the Philippines. This is Faye Barte reporting live here in Thailand, and we live in interesting times.
Meanwhile, Malaysia's government introduced a law on Thursday that punishes spreading coronavirus misinformation with jail time and hefty fines, sparking fury at what critics labeled an appalling attack on free speech. The shock move comes amid growing concerns about worsening freedom of expression in Malaysia since a scandal-plagued administration seized power last year. The emergency ordinance comes into effect Friday and does not need parliamentary approval, as the country is currently under a state of emergency to fight the virus. For spreading information deemed by authorities wholly or partly false related to COVID-19 or the state of emergency, the maximum punishment is 3 years in prison and a 100,000 ringgit fine. Those found guilty of funding acts of publishing misinformation face a jail term of up to 6 years and 500,000 ringgit fine, according to a copy of the law. Malaysia's king declared a state of emergency in January as virus cases surge, but the move was widely criticized as a gambit by Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin to shore up his collapsing government.
Students and teachers in the Philippines struggled to adapt to the new learning system as lack of vaccination drive and increasing coronavirus infections kept the schools closed for a year. Fearing they could catch the virus, the government ordered children to stay at home, where they spent their time attending classes now being held virtually. A blended learning program involving online classes, printed materials, and lessons broadcast on television and social media was launched in October, 4 months after the school year was supposed to start. It has been plagued with problems since most students in the Philippines don't have a computer or internet at home. But even those with the technology have difficulty following the lessons. A learning hotline composed of registered teachers was set up in Manila to assist students, where they receive about 1,000 calls asking for help every day.
Forward, madami na kaming calls na nare-receive. So usually around 1,000 calls per day. So sa mga calls na iyan, marami kaming nare-resolve na concerns nila regarding their modules.
As a teacher, we know the quality are declining now on the instruction, especially on the some subjects, especially subjects that require hands-on activities like science, mathematics, practice solving problems. How can we do that in the messengers? You can just picture it. Personally, I want the face-to-face classes to be back with, of course, observing health protocols, because if we just wait for the vaccine just to arrive, it will be long for the children to be back at the school, because as far as
mahihirapan ka magsagot ng walang kasama, walang kausap. Uy, ano to, ganyan-ganyan. Kasi hindi naman po ito face-to-face, katulad ng face-to-face. Kahit may gagawin kayo, mag-uusap lang, kahit katabi mo siya. Ganun lang po, kasi dito ngayon sa bahay, wala po eh.
School closures have affected all students, but the country's devastating rich-poor divide has made the impact unequal. Parents with money can hire tutors for their children, or even a live-in teacher. Recruitment company Econ Solutions Asia has placed dozens of qualified teachers to live in a bubble with wealthy families during the pandemic, said Managing Director Paulo Martel. And for poor students like Maria Fe Moralos, who lives in a smoky charcoal making neighborhood, such opportunities don't exist.
Thank you, Cristel, for joining me today here on ASEAN in Focus. You stay safe.
Likewise, Alma. I'm Cristel Mapa, reporting from Thailand, and we live in interesting times.
And that's it for this broadcast. We'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.
Nakaabang, sino kaya ang makakalamang upang kunin ang huling pwesto sa March Monthly Finals?
Alam mo, pag hindi mo kasi ine-enjoy at nararamdaman yung awitin na yan, parang bitin, no? Parang sa rock band. Pumasok ka na kaya sa rock band.
This is Tagisan ng Galing Part 2, Singing Edition.
Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
This 2021 ang babago sa inyong kapagkainan dahil may kantahan,
Kainan at katatawanan.
Rolling to One!
Ito ang It's Singing Time! Lunes hanggang Biyernes,
alas 8 ng gabi.
only here at Net 25!
It's singing time.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.